Today on the Chad Slagle Show, coaching you to and through retirement. We're going to discuss why choosing the easy route in life can lead to a more difficult outcome. And on a Coach's Corner today, we're going to discuss what you can and cannot control when it comes to your hard-earned dollars that you've spent a lifetime to build and create. And on our Chalk Talk segment today, we're going to discuss your financial house and how you should properly structure from the ground up. So sit back, relax, and learn. The Chad Slagle Show starts now. I'm Chad Slagle. I believe financial planning is about educating people and empowering them to make better decisions with their hard-earned dollars. Coaching gives me satisfaction from watching a player succeed and get better. You need an experienced team around you. The best coaches have great assistant coaches. I have brought a lot of the techniques and structure I learned from playing and coaching football and apply them to the world of investing. My goal now is to coach as many individuals and families as I can on how to get successfully to and through retirement. Welcome into the Chad Slagle Show, coaching you to and through retirement. I'm the coach, Chad Slagle, here with my colleague, Chad Tobin. And today on the Clipboard segment, we're going to discuss why choosing the easy route in life can lead to a more difficult outcome. There's a quote that I share with my kids, my family, and of course here at the firm, Chad, and that is, if you do what is easy, life will be hard. But if you do what is hard, life will become easy. Now is a very uncomfortable time, and you need to make some hard decisions. Hit that reset button, if you will, and make some changes, because if you sit on your hands and do what is easy, don't do anything, it could be a decision that it could affect not only you, but your family and your hard-earned dollars for a long time to come.
Yeah, and I think, Chad, you mentioned, a lot of people out there, we all like it when things are easy, right? And a lot of people, they take that easy way. But, what we see, and we always try to surround ourselves with people that are successful, right? And that's what we want to do. The successful people out there do what is hard. They do that hard work up front. And really what that does, it allows things to be easier in the end. And lately I've watched a couple of those Michael Jordan episodes, and that's one person that I think he was just a hard worker up front, and it made things look easy at the end for him.
Yeah, and I think another problem, Chad, with the pandemic and the virus and everything that's going on right now, a lot of people are scared. And when you get scared, you know that you need to make decisions, you know you need to make changes, but really what happens is you get paralyzed and do absolutely nothing. And now is not the time to be paralyzed. Now is the time to take action. So what we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about some things that you can and cannot control in this ever-changing market, in the economy, and of course with this virus that is affecting not only our communities, but really the whole world right now, Chad.
Yeah, and I think now is the time, as Chad mentioned, now's the time to kind of not do what's easy and take action, because now's the time you have to really understand how much exposure you are taking with your hard-earned dollars in this uncertain market that we're in. So it's the time to really evaluate, hit that reset button, and really understand your comfort level with the situation we're in.
And that's another thing we're going to do, is kind of take a look at how you can look at your financial house and make sure it is in order so you can be successful not only through this current time that we're having right now, but for many, many years to come. When we return on the Coach's Corner, we're going to discuss what you can and cannot control when it comes to your hard-earned dollars that you've spent a lifetime to build and create. We'll be right back. Let's go.
He's such an involved dad. He's always telling the kids stories. I remember when so-and-so said I couldn't do this, or I didn't make this team.
Everybody in here.
That's what drives him. In our family, we always tell our kids to stick up for each other, stand behind one another. He feels it's his role to provide, keep us safe, and to make sure that the kids are taken care of. A lot of Chad's clients have the same traditional values, and he bonds with them. Each family has a different set of circumstances, and each family is unique and different. The common thread between all of Chad's clients is that they want the best for their family, just as he would our own family.
Welcome back to the Chad Slagle Show, coaching you to and through retirement. We are back here with my colleague Chad Tobin, and today on the Coach's Corner, we're going to discuss what you can and cannot control when it comes to your hard-earned dollars that you've spent a lifetime to build and create. These, of course, are unprecedented times we're in right now in our communities, our country, and our world. And our world has basically been shut down where we're all under this stay-at-home order, isolated from the rest of the world, other than going maybe to the grocery store or to Home Depot. And unfortunately, people are dying from this horrible virus at record rates, and some of those, our clients, have even passed away as well. And unfortunately, there is no end in sight. And while most of us are safe in our houses, there are a lot of people and professions that are putting their lives on the line every day for our safety. And one of those is my sister-in-law, who is a nurse in downtown St. Louis. She has a 1-year-old at home, but every week she puts on her uniform and goes to work to protect and take care of us that need it in these crazy times, all while putting her own family at risk every time that she comes home from work, Chad.
And these are some tough times, and many of you and your families are doing the same in the front lines, and we want to say our thoughts and prayers are with those families and everyone that has battled the virus, passed away from the virus, or fighting this virus. And I think with all of that being said, we're in a tough time, but there is some very positive things that can come out of tough times. And I think, whether it's personal, business, professional, we can get through this and be better at the end.
We can get through this, but one problem that we have, Chad, is, there's so many things out there that we cannot control. We cannot control this virus. Is it going to last 3 months, 18 months? We have no idea how long this is going to continue. We can't even control our stock market, whether it goes up or down. We can't even control our politicians other than the vote that you or I have. So there's so many things out there today, unfortunately, that you cannot control that adds to the anxiety and the stress and really the fear that a lot of people have today.
Yeah, and I think all of us, we're kind of wondering when this stay-at-home order gets lifted, and we're starting to see every state be able to make their own decisions here, and what's going to happen? These are some uncertainties. We don't know what's going to happen in the near future. These are things we can't control. We can't control 2 states over what they're going to do. So again, a lot of uncertainties, a lot of things are out of our hands, but a lot of this stuff really does affect our hard-earned dollars, things that we can't control.
So what can you control? Well, you can control who you work with and how your money's invested. When it comes to your hard-earned dollars, again, money that has taken you 20, 30, 40 years to accumulate, you want to make sure that you're working with a retirement specialist that has helped many people just like you get successfully to and through retirement. In other words, that have built many blueprints for people just like you and have been successful doing it. I think that's the biggest thing right now, Chad. People need direction. They need a trailblazer. They need somebody that's been there before, that has seen the ups and downs in the market, has been through 9/11, 2008, 2009, and here we are again, almost in the same kind of situation. But again, this is a little different situation, and then it's shut down the whole world.
Yeah, and I was actually on the phone. My grandmother's 88 years old. I was talking to her this week, and this is something that nobody's ever been through. And I think now is the time when you look at things. This should be an eye-opener to a lot of people out there. If you're getting ready to retire, or you see retirement here in the next 1 to 5 years, all of a sudden it made you realize, were you taking too much risk? Now's the time to kind of get your ducks in order and really focus on the amount of exposure you are taking, because these things that are out of our control really have a huge impact on our dollars.
So that brings us to the next point, Chad, the unknown, what's out of our control, is a lot of you have questions. A lot of questions we've got from clients, a lot of questions we got from people that have been watching the show or have been to our events or we spoke to via video chat. And a couple of those we want to talk about right now. Number one is hang in there. And this is a problem, Chad. If you're sitting there and you got $500,000, $750,000, or $1 million in your 401k, and you had a 30 or 40% correction, you probably lost $100,000, $200,000 or more. And now you're wanting to know, hey, I've lost this money. I'm still going to work for 3 or 4 more years. Should I just hold on, leave everything where it is, and wait till that money comes back before I make any changes? Or should I start repositioning things now? And that's a big question. Should you hang in there?
Well, and I think, it depends. And I think we've got the yes answer that you should hang in there, but we also have the no answer that you shouldn't hang in there. And I think starting with the no answer, if maybe going into this you were taking on too much risk, you didn't really know, and all of a sudden it's causing you to lose a little sleep at night because you had too much risk, or if you're in some maybe lower than average quality type investments, investments that are charging you loads if you're putting money in, or loads if you're taking money out. I mean, this is a time now to really look at upgrading the quality of those investments, and if you're willing to take on that risk. So the answer is, if you are properly structured and you've got a good balanced plan, hanging in there is the best thing you do. But if you're unbalanced, the answer is no. We've got to get you in a better balanced plan.
The other thing, of course, is early retirement layoffs. Because of this virus, 25 million people are unemployed right now, which are huge numbers that we've just seen in the past 4 or 5 weeks. So a lot of people are getting opportunities. Maybe you got an opportunity for an early retirement, or maybe your companies are laying you off. What should you do with that money? Or should you retire and say, hey, I'm going to retire now a little earlier than I wanted, but I'm going to see if I can do it. It's really all about building that game plan and making sure you develop that game plan before you make that decision.
And I think a lot of people out there, if you're in that position, you're getting laid off, the employer is maybe offering early buyouts, or just maybe you're retiring. Most of you out there probably didn't do financial planning all throughout your career. So, finding that specialist, finding that a firm that can help a person just like you, if you're a retiree that deals with people like you every day, and now help you build that game plan, as Chad mentioned.
And of course, your current plan. Do I have the right plan? Well, first of all, you have to have a plan. The problem is we run into a lot of people, Chad, that have a plan that are maybe a year from retirement or a few years from retirement or are already retired. But the problem is they don't have the right plan. They have a growth plan when really what they should have is a retirement plan.
Yeah, and I think, we talk about while you're working, at 40 years of age, even 50 years of age, you've got a growth plan, and you've been used to just grow at all cost and dollar cost averaging every paycheck back into that market. But once you get closer to retirement, now all of a sudden it's not about grow at all cost, it's about protecting and providing you income and making sure you have peace of mind. And so those two different types of plans, depending on if you're still in the growth phase, maybe you're in the right plan, but if you're in that growth phase and you're retired, it may not be the right plan for you.
And the last one, those 401ks and retirement plans. And usually, Chad, what we explain to everybody is when you look at your 401k or your retirement plan and you finally built up some wealth, you finally have some growth in those, you have a good nest egg built up there, you want to make sure you take that money and you want to make sure you separate it into two different buckets. What you've made and what you could make. You want to make sure that you're not taking your money and just throwing it all into one pot. In other words, if you have an account, a 401k or a retirement plan through work that you have $500,000 or $750,000 in, that's money that you've made. You need to take that money, put that money in a little more of a conservative place where it's protected if this market continues to drop. However, the new money that you're putting in every pay period, since you're going to work another year, 2 years, 3 years, or 5 years, then you want to take a little more risk with that money, because even if the market's going down, you're buying in as the market goes down, so when it comes back up, you're going to have an even bigger gain. But do not invest that money all in one bucket.
Yeah, and I think, we've seen and witnessed people that, we're really close to retirement just at the end of last year, beginning of this year. They just had a few months left to work, and then all of a sudden this happened. And they had all of that money sitting in that growth 401k, pumping money, and now all of a sudden, they're thinking about how much longer do I have to work? So this is why Chad's mentioning at this time, if you've got another 1, 2, 5 years left to work, kind of start looking at that money differently.
Speaking about looking at that money differently, you want to make sure that you have your physical house in order. To download our free white paper today about building your physical house to weather the elements, visit www.schlegelfinancial.com/empoweryou. Coming up on Chalk Talk, we're going to discuss your financial house and how you should properly structure it from the ground up. We'll be right back. The number one concern of retirees today is outliving their hard-earned dollars. It is more important now than ever to educate and empower yourself to make better decisions with your money than it has taken you 30 to 40 years to accumulate. How do you do this? By using our Financial GPS, our guided planning system. This is a 4-step process to help get you successfully to and through retirement. The first step in this process is to create clarity. Here we will help identify your goals as well as your concerns and identify what you want to accomplish in retirement. The second step, we will analyze the risk you're taking with your current portfolio, and the step will also identify exactly what you are paying in fees. In the third step, we will evaluate and assess your current plan and help identify the gap between the missing pieces. And in the fourth and final step, this is where we will work together to implement a plan of action to accomplish your retirement goals. And this process can take place at any one of our convenient locations in Missouri, at our Creve Coeur and Sunset Hills offices, or in Illinois at our Edwardsville, Springfield, and Jacksonville locations. So call now to get set up on the right path on your journey through retirement. Welcome back into the Chad Slagle Show, coaching you to and through retirement. So we just discussed what you can and cannot control when it comes to your hard-earned dollars that you spent a lifetime to build and create. Now we're going to discuss your financial house and how you should properly structure it from the ground up. A lot of you have been at home with the stay-at-home order. I'm sure you've got rid of a lot of clutter and cleaned out a lot of those closets, garages, and sheds. And you've been given, kind of got your house in order, if you will. Now is a great time to do that, but it's also a great time to get your financial house in order as well. So the next 10, 20, or even 30 years of your retirement journey can be as great as you've always imagined them to be. So today we want to explain your financial house and how you need to properly structure it so that you can be successful in the current pandemic, come out on the other side in a good and successful way, but also how you can carry you through the next 10, 15, 20 years. Because Chad, if you make a mistake now, that could really affect your income. It could affect your portfolio. It could really affect your family for the next 10, 20, 30 years, unfortunately.
Yeah, and Chad, you talk about your financial house, and many of you out there maybe have built your own house. We were talking to some clients this week, and they're getting ready to build a house in Alabama, down south. And, they both kind of joked because a lot of times it may cause a little frustration between husband and wife building a house together. But we all know that there's a lot of planning that goes into building a house, and no different than your own financial house. I mean, there is a lot of planning that goes in place to help build your own financial house.
So let's go in, and we're going to jump in right now. We're going to talk about what are the different parts of your financial house and what does that look like. So when we talk about your financial house, of course, you have the foundation, and that is more of your stable, more of your secure investments where no matter what happens, no matter what storm comes along, that money is going to be protected. Once you have that set up, then we can frame up the house, if you will. In other words, we can start building the walls. And then you take a little more risk with investments that are in the walls, in that middle area of your house, if you will, but they're a little more stable. Now, as we get into the roof and the attic and the top part of the house, that's where there's going to be a lot more risk. That's where there's a lot more potential for growth, but there's also a more potential for loss as well.
Yeah, and I think, Chad, when we break it down even further, your foundation should be things that, providing you income every month that you don't have to worry about outliving that money. It should be things that as this market's going down, you have peace of mind. You're not losing sleep at night for that money to actually lose value. The walls, maybe you're kind of notching, maybe getting into the market slowly with some good, solid, stable type investments there. Good quality, maybe companies that pay good, consistent dividends. And then as Chad mentioned, that roof, we're trying to hit home runs up there, and we're taking on, and hopefully that's money that you can afford to lose if we don't hit that home run.
And the key you have to understand with your house, just like with anything else, again, you have to build that from the ground up. And unfortunately, Chad, a lot of people, when a big storm comes along, they're not sure if they have a solid financial house or not. Again, until that storm comes along. Just like you, if it's a nice day outside and there's no wind, it doesn't matter how your house is built, it's probably going to be okay. But when a big storm comes along, if the majority of your house is in the roof and in the walls and you do not have a solid foundation, there's a pretty good chance that your house is going to have problems. Your house could possibly blow away. That's why you want to make sure that you build that financial house solid with the foundation first and then start building it from the ground up. And unfortunately, Chad, a lot of people that we speak with day in and day out, we ask them about their portfolios. And unfortunately, a lot of them really believe that they have a balanced portfolio, that they have a well-diversified portfolio when the market's up, like it was back in February. But all of a sudden, here comes this big financial storm. The market has a 30 or 40% correction just in a few weeks. And that financial house that they thought was diversified, that they thought was built properly from the ground up, unfortunately, a lot of it has blown away because of the financial storm that we're in.
Yeah, and I think, the old school way of thinking of diversification, and I was born in 1980, and back then interest rates were pretty high. And since then, we've been on a decline in interest rates. So the old way of thinking was that, stocks and bonds portfolio, and that was a good diversified portfolio. But now what we're seeing, interest rates are at all-time lows. They've even went lower that we didn't think they could. But at some point, interest rates are going to start going back up. And so this old school way of diversifying your portfolio with stocks and bonds, I think we have to kind of throw that out the door. And we've got to think outside the box to really understand what true diversification is for you.
So that leads us to the next question. How much should you have allocated in each part of your financial house? The roof, the walls, and the foundation. And the problem is, Chad, unfortunately, we sit down with a lot of retirees, people who are retired or wanting to retire in the next 3 to 5 years, and they have 80 to 90% of their money in the roof at very high risk. It's good that they've made a lot of money here maybe in the past few years, but they've also lost a lot of money just in the past few weeks. So what happens, though, if 80 to 90% of your money is in the roof and a big storm comes along, again, what we've been talking about, that could really affect your portfolio for many, many years to come and maybe even delay your retirement from the game plan that you originally had. So again, the key is to build the solid foundation first. If you're 55, 65, or just a couple of years away from retirement, you want to maybe have 40 to 50, maybe even 60% of your money in that foundation, in that wall area, not in the roof, and make sure that you get that financial house set up properly.
Well, and why is this so much more important today than it was in the past is because we're living in that pensionless society. Most people out there, you're getting ready to retire, you've built up the 401k, you don't have that pension. So you've got to, that pension is part of that foundation, and if you've got to do that on your own, that's why it's so important to build the house with that foundation first. Solve for your income. Make sure your lifestyle is what you work so hard to do, and make sure that income's coming in. Once you've solved that, now we can start building the walls and the roof on top of that.
And I think the key is, Chad, is you want to make sure you have a builder that has built houses for people just like you, people who are retired or getting ready to retire. You want to make sure they have that blueprint that they've been successful with for many years to come with retirees through the ups and the downs of the market. And to download our free white paper today about building your physical house to weather the elements, visit www.schlegelfinancial.com/empoweryou. When we come back on our strategy play, we're going to help you identify what your financial house should look like in retirement. We'll be right back. The number one concern of retirees today is outliving their hard-earned dollars. It is more important now than ever to educate and empower yourself to make better decisions with your money that it has taken you 30 to 40 years to accumulate. How do you do this? By using our financial GPS, our guided planning system. This is a 4-step process to help get you successfully to and through retirement. The first step in this process is to create clarity. Here we will help identify your goals as well as your concerns and identify what you want to accomplish in retirement. The second step, we will analyze the risk you're taking with your current portfolio, and this step will also identify exactly what you are paying in fees. In the third step, we will evaluate and assess your current plan and help identify the gap between the missing pieces. And in the fourth and final step, this is where we will work together to implement a plan of action to accomplish your retirement goals. And this process can take place at any one of our convenient locations in Missouri, at our Creve Coeur and Sunset Hills offices, or in Illinois at our Edwardsville, Springfield, and Jacksonville locations. So call now to get set up on the right path on your journey through retirement. Welcome back to the Chad Schlegel Show, coaching you to and through retirement. On this week's strategy play, we're going to help you identify what your financials should look like in retirement. And this is what we talked about earlier, Chad. Do you have a plan? If you do have a plan, do you have a growth plan or a retirement plan? And that's important to understand if you're retired, if you're wanting to retire in the next 6 months or year, but if you're wanting to retire in the next 3 to 5 years, you have to understand what your plan is now and what it looks like going into retirement. So let's talk a little bit here, Chad, about what your financial house look like now as opposed to probably what it should look like as you get closer to retirement.
Yeah, and I think oftentimes we see, we're used to working, saving, and putting money into that 401k, our investments. And chances are while we're working, raising that family, our financial house is very much geared for growth. It's grow at all costs. We're trying to hit those home runs. But all of a sudden, at some point, what we see is we have retirees coming into the office that their house looks like this, but we need it to be more of that retirement plan.
And one of the biggest problems I see, Chad, with a lot of retirees today is they're set up with this house, they've lost 30 to 40%, but they're afraid to change anything because they want that money to come back. But as we mentioned earlier, sometimes you have to put yourself in an uncomfortable situation to get to a better place. Sometimes you have to make those difficult decisions. You cannot afford now to sit on your hands. So what you want to do if your portfolios look like this, even if you lost 20 to 30%, the answer is not hang in there. The answer is to get the right plan set up first. Be proactive, don't be reactive as this market continues to go up and down. So that's why as you get closer to retirement, you want to start insulating your portfolio from a downturn in the market. You may want to have 50, 60% of your money in the foundation, where if this market has a 10, 20% continuation of losses, you know that money's protected, you cannot lose it. Then you can afford to maybe have 20% in the walls. That takes a little more risk, but it's still more stable. And then, of course, that other 20% for real growth, Chad.
Yeah, and as we mentioned earlier, I mean, many people out there don't have those pensions. We're living in that pensionless society. So more important, why that foundation, building your house from the ground up and making sure your foundation is set up properly first, then we can ladder some risk on top of that.
And I think that's the key. If you have a broken foundation, now's the time to fix it. Because when we sit down with the client, the last thing we want to do is try to build your financial house on a broken foundation. So sometimes it's better to break it down, start from the bottom, and again, build from the ground up. Are you confused and need help making some important decisions with your hard-earned dollars? Do you need help building your own financial house for retirement? If so, we encourage you to give us a call today, and that's this week's Strategy Play. If you have any questions about today's show, or if you would like for us to discuss a new topic, email us at askchad@schlegelfinancial.com to have your questions answered on the show. We'll be right back with some of the key takeaways from today. We've covered a lot today, so let's jump in and talk about some of the key takeaways. Number one, do what is easy and your life will be hard. Do what is hard and your life will become easy. Make the necessary changes now so you are successful in retirement. Number two, understand the things that you can and cannot control. And number three, Chad, make sure you build the proper financial house for your retirement.
Yeah, and this is the most important thing is you have that blueprint. Do some things that are hard now to build that blueprint, to give you a game plan to get you through retirement in the future.
To download our free white paper today about building your physical house to weather the elements, visit www.schlegelfinancial.com/empoweryou. Schlegel Financial and our team of advisors have educational events coming up in your area in the form of a webinar to make sure you are prepared for today's retirement. For more information and to sign up for one of these events, call 888-294-9248 or visit chadschlegelshow.com. Remember, folks, success is waking up in the morning, whoever you are, wherever you are, no matter how old or young you are, and bounding out of bed because there's something out there that you love to do, that you believe in, that you're good at, and you can hardly wait to get at it again today. At Schlegel Financial, realize that this is bigger than our team. It's about educating you, the public, and our wonderful clients, and empowering you to make better decisions with your hard-earned dollars. For my colleague, Chad Tobin, this is the coach, Chad Schlegel. Thank you very much for joining us. We look forward to visiting with each and every one of you next week.